Hello, good evening, and thank you for joining us on Mountain Echoes. Tonight, we remember EKEMA Patrick Esunge, one of Boya's very strong men, one who had a vision of stabilizing Boya and driving Boya's socio-economic development to the right path. Unfortunately, he gave up the ghost and left even before his tenure could come to an end. Well, his remnants in the city of Boya seem to be vibrating even after his passing on. It is 3 years past since Ekimo Patrick left the city of Boya, but his activities, his results, achievements, challenges, and all the like are still ripple across the municipality. Tonight, we get to discuss and remember what Ekema captioned and envisioned Boya to be and what we would be remembering him for. Good evening and thanks for joining us once again. My name is Yannick Fonke, and tonight I am joined in the studio by host of very fine journalist who trailed Ekema Patrick all through his mandate as mayor of the Boya municipality. I have with me in the studio Nana Walter Wisin. He's a journalist, and we're very, very honored because he's a senior journalist at that. We're honored to having him in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, Nick, it's a pleasure to be here. It's my first time of the premises of the Divine Mercy Radio and Television. It's a delight to be here. When I saw your invitation, I found it very difficult to say no. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much. And of course, I just have to indicate that Nana Walter Wisin is a member of the communication committee of the Diocese of Boya. And of course, his rich contributions drive the communication sector in this diocese to its envisioned site. Also, in the program tonight, we have Jack Silvanus. He's also a journalist, and we're also excited having him in the program tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, Jack.
Thank you very much, Yannick. It's a pleasure being here tonight, especially as we're here to talk about a man that left a gap and shows that we're still to find somebody to fit the size.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to hear more about the man in just a moment. Also, on panel tonight, we have Reverend Father Michael Jumo, who is a journalist as well, and we're happy he's joining the platform, at least for the second time. Thank you very much for joining us, Father.
Thank you very much, Yannick. It's a pleasure being here to also speak on, analyze some aspects of the tenure of Mayor Patrick Esunge as Mayor of Boya. And with my pleasure to bring in some input on his pros and cons, what he did well, and what we think the others can ameliorate and take over from. Thank you very much, Yannick.
Thank you so much. We want to immensely thank Professor Julius Victor Ngo, who had indicated he would be part of the program, but at just at the time minute, he had an unavoidable issue that, of course, he took his permission, and so we are also recognizing him in the program tonight. But he was carefully replaced by another person who accepted at the time minute in the person of Mr. Sama Abamungwa. Is a is a concerned citizen, a social commentator, and also he runs a satire platform on social media known as Unamumudondu. In a moment, we get to introduce him. Hopefully, the technicians get to put everything in place. But we kick the program right on. Well, gone, but not forgotten. On the 27th of October 2019, that was precisely on a Sunday, the wind of change blew across the Boya municipality. Denizens woke up to the very sad news of the passing away of the strong man of the municipality in the person of Ekema Patrick Esunge. Well, he reportedly died in Douala under very, very unclear circumstances. Well, there was heavy cry, grief and consternation in the Boya municipality. The morning was very long, but after all, he was buried. And of course, several years, at least 3 years gone down the lane, the population still remember the man, Ekema Patrick, at least for very obvious reasons. He stood very firm for security to bounce back into the municipality of Boya. He stood firm in building the economy of Boya. He He stood firm in reorganizing Boya municipality. He did quite. But also, he didn't just do that with positive or hand claps. A lot of challenges and a lot of dissenting voices rose with his activities. We will discuss all of that in the course of this program. Let us have the image of EKEMA Patrick. Let's just remind ourselves of whom EKEMA Patrick was in the following footage. Right, let's just begin our discussion. We'll get to find out from the footage we have there. But just to indicate that each time, anytime the footage is ready, it should be rolled across with the discussion that we're having here. Beginning first thing first, and I'd like to begin with you, Mr. Nana. Of course, you've been training EKEMA for many reasons, and you can better articulate his development agenda for the municipality than any of us here. So, just paint for us. Just give us his historical ascension into the position of mayor and his agenda, even before he died.
What's up, Yanni? Thank you. I knew Mr. Patrick EKEMA Sunge, may his soul rest in peace today, many years back in the University of Boya, when I came to Boya as a young student in the university in 1993. I knew Patrick. Patrick was a young guy who was serving as an administrative assistant in the University of Boya. From there, like many other people, the university was getting bigger, the university was growing, and people saw the importance of education because they came on as young people with their O levels, A levels, working as administrative assistants in the University of Boya during the tenure of Professor Dorothy Germa, who gave opportunity for young people who were interested in contributing to the well-being of the University of Boya. So Patrick came in. From there, Patrick also took the interest beyond his O level, A level to get into the university. He started studying in the Department of History, from the undergraduate to master's. I want to imagine, hopefully, he was getting into the PhD program. And then within that time, as a young worker in the University of Boya, he was also rising in the administrative rank of the University of Boya. And he got right up to the rank of faculty officer in one of the faculties. Yeah. At the same time, a smart person that he was also very involved in the political atmosphere of Boya, and he was following the footsteps of his big brother and friend, today Senator Charles Belamuki, who moved him right up to the position of a deputy mayor of Boya. Of course, political setting, you have misunderstanding, you have maybe differences here and there. It got to a point where he was even suspended as the deputy mayor of Boya. But again, that didn't take away, I mean, his political vision, his political ambition as a member of the CBDM party in Boya, and of course, his a vision into contributing to the well-being of the city of Boya. And I remember Yannick in one instance whereby after one of the elections, today Senator Belamuki said, the day I would not be there, Patrick would take over the city of Boya. It was a kind of a joking statement at the time, but the seriousness in which, I mean, today Senator Charles Belamuki said it, I mean, we saw it coming. After a while, it was first deputy mayor. I mean, the position for a senatorial opening came in Cameroon. That's 22. Today, Senator Belamuki had the opportunity to move into the national, into the Senate as a member. And with the rules and regulations in the CPDM party, the first deputy had to take over. And within that transition, first deputy mayor Patrick EKEMA became the mayor of Boya, and then ended that tenure, that remaining tenure of today's Senator Charles Belamuki, and then was elected now as a full-time mayor of the city of Boya, who came with his own vision, who came with his own way of doing things. He came with a lot of youthful exuberance. He came with a new way of doing things. like you said earlier, sometimes even shaking the boot of his own party and the elders of the city of Boya. Some of them were not very comfortable. Some of them took time to understanding that this is the younger generation. They do have a say, they have a way of doing things. And of course, Patrick blossomed. And like any person in the public sphere, you will not be welcomed by everybody. So he had his own punches. He had those who came with gloves and those who came with hard punches for him. But that is the life of a politician. That's the life of a man. You had to get into him. In my background as a journalist, I covered the Boya Council for many years. I mean, from the days of Mayor Becker right up to Senator Charles Balamuki and the tenure of Patrick EKEMA and the administration of the Boya Council today. So, I mean, we saw many aspects of him, the political side, the economic side, the social side, the family side, and of course, and somebody who had everything but not the destruction of Boya. You know, you could say anything about Boya, you could say anything about Patrick, but don't disturb the peace, the stability, and the economic development of Boya. And of course, like we'll discover and we'll discuss in the course of this program tonight, Patrick, I would say, opened his chest and received all the bullets that were coming to Boya. And today, if we're enjoying some relative peace, economic stability, I would say a thumbs up to Patrick who opened his chest to receive all those bullets.
Right. That's interesting. Very interesting there. Of course, we're going to come back to you because you're giving us some very good explanation there now. Let me come to you, Mr. Jagger. Tell us, you're one person who was very close to EKEMA Patrick for many reasons. Share with us his vision for Boya.
Well, I think that Yannick, the vision that Mayor EKEMA Patrick had for Boya was a vision to see Boya greater, to see Boya emerge, and to see a Boya that is as solid as the Mount Cameroon itself. Those who were close to him, like some of us, when you're close to EKEMA Patrick, that's where you see his good side. And those who are not very close to him, you see him afar, you see him from a very negative point of view. And that's why he remains that character that it's only after his demise that today everyone is crying, EKEMA Patrick, EKEMA Patrick, EKEMA Patrick. Now, let me begin by saying that, Yannick, how did I get the news of his death? I think it was on Saturday. I had some colleagues who were coming from Yaoundé to do some work at the level of the municipality of Boya.
Yeah.
So they called the mayor that they called him that morning. He was not taking his phone because apparently he does not pick strange numbers at times. So they got to my boss, and my boss told them that the only person that can call that man now and get him is Jack. Get to Jack, and I was in Yaoundé for a seminar. We had that seminar together, Yannick. And of course, I had to call him that very morning, and he picked the phone. I told him that, well, colleagues are from Yaoundé, they want to meet you. And he said, but where are you? I said, I'm in Yaoundé, but we're coming back the next day, which is Sunday. And he said, my brother, I'm also leaving to Yaoundé on Monday. But we have to meet in the house in the morning and eat on that Sunday before I travel. That was our discussion on Saturday. And on that Saturday, what happened as we're coming back that day in the bus on Sunday, and the first person that called...
That Saturday, he was busy at the Boya Regional Hospital.
Correct.
The present bus that the ambulance that Boya Regional Hospital is using, he handed that bus to them.
Correct.
On that 26th of October 2019. And they left there and went to Palapala Field.
Yeah.
Palapala Field.
Correct.
And they went to a funeral.
Yeah.
No.
And that's what happened. So that early morning on Sunday, the first person who called me surprisingly was the city mayor. He took peace unto his soul, Andrew Mutanga Mujimba, early in the morning, who called me in the morning and said, in very few words, he texted me and said, good morning, my son. The mayor has removed his slippers. It was as brief as that. The mayor has removed his slippers. What does this mean? I don't know what it means when they say the mayor has actually removed his slippers. Then I call him back. He did not pick. I call again, then he picked. I said, wait, Daddy, I don't understand. The mayor has removed his slippers. Which mayor are we talking about? He just said, well, Jack, you'll get it very soon. Then he dropped. It was then later that we learned that the mayor had passed. It was difficult to believe. Very difficult. He was somebody that had a unique vision for the city. He wanted, like I said, a Boya that would be standing strong like the mountain of Boya. He wanted a Boya that would be inclusive. Everybody will be part of the dream for Boya. But he wanted a Boya that will also stand up for what Boya believes in. he actually believed in values of peace. He believed, his philosophy was that, he told me at one point that, well, because we call ourselves my God-given. He said, my God-given, if I have to defend something, I defend it like there's no other person to join me in that defense. If I have to defend, for example, Nana Watawisin, I would defend Nana Watawisin like there's no other person. And I asked him, but why? And he told me that it's because of the childhood he had. The mayor did not have a very smooth childhood. His childhood was quite a difficult one. And he said he grew up battling and fighting for what's right. And that's how he's been raised. And that's why if you're his friend, you're his friend. If you're his enemy, you're his enemy. He does not mix it. Yes, it's either you're with him or you're not with him. And that was the kind of person that he was. Like, for example, when he stood his ground against those who come with different ideologies to destabilize the city, he told them, no, I am not with you. And he fought them till the last end. So that was the kind of person that he was. But a very generous person, very jovial person. Generous, I should say extremely generous, because he lifted so many. All his friends, those who were close to EKEMA, were lifted. And those who were with him, all of them smiled during his time. But it was quite short, just like any other hero we have in our big history books. They don't live for long. They always pass in this style, and that's why his death remains a mystery. Nobody can actually place your hand to say, okay, what happened to the mayor? How did he die? Nobody has a unique story of what happened actually, and it's people like that. I just believe that's how they go. Yeah, I believe that's how they go.
That's unfortunate.
Well, I think maybe let me just add one little item that we're talking about. After the itinerary, he said the hospital to the funeral at
Pala
Field. I mean, the last stop was the Boya Mountain Hotel. There was a function there. I remember that Saturday when I left the radio. I was driving in a taxi. We bypassed with his Lexus car. He was actually the one driving, so he now drove into the Boya Mountain Hotel. When he was part of that function, it is that function that he left that function that Saturday evening and drove to Douala for another function where, I mean, he passed on. So that Saturday, I actually saw he was the one driving the Lexus car, and then only for the next Sunday morning around 11 o'clock, like I just said, we started having WhatsApp. From first view, we thought it was those, WhatsApp gimmicks, people trying to play on the personality and somebody. But after calls from close family members, people who were with him in Boya that Saturday evening, they confirmed to us that the mayor of the city of Boya had passed on in the city of Douala.
That's really touching, very, very touching there. What fond memories did you have of the mayor, the late mayor, I should say?
Well, I wouldn't say like all veteran journalists here and his close associate that I really had fond memories of him or close memories or could even trace his itinerary on that day. But then, like Mark Anthony, I could say that we come not to bury, we come to bury Caesar not to praise him. We come to bury Caesar not to praise him. And the good that men do are buried their bones while the evil lives on. But then, I would say he did some evil, yes, he actually did. And he did some good, yes, he actually did. But now, to look at what EKEMA did as mayor during his tenure, that's something which are worth praising. My own perspective of EKEMA as a young boy growing in Monaco before being a priest, at least I knew him as a seminarian. We played around the Baptist church there, which is close to his house. And seeing him grow also politically when he had his reception there, I think our first impression of him, first of all, is a cordial person to those around him, especially to his Backwarian brothers and sisters. Yes, he was very, and a philanthropist, some could say, because I have memories of those who, when I came to visit them, some of my neighbors who are Backwarians, just there, former Jerome Glass Street, now known as St. Clair, and Mayor Street where he lives. We had that looked at during his tenure. When I went to visit them, and they'll be like, we just come on the mayor's house, we are just from the mayor's house. And you see some good things, some goodies which they bring from the mayor's house, and he's an open-handed person. I also have memories of him too then during closing the shops, I know which we are going to come to, the breaking down of what we call Karabut houses, houses made up of wood on the streets of Boya, a major street like Boya. He was against such things. But then we also have controversial aspects of him. I also have controversial memories of him, squabbles and quarrels, some church authorities, and all that. And I think it's this platform will give us the opportunity to revisit some of those and also enlighten some of ourselves and our brothers on the good things which he did, and also looking at what he did not do well, so that we can pick up to from there, so that that history in its good aspect may repeat itself, and history in its evil aspects may not repeat themselves. So that's what I see as fond memories of being a philanthropist to a certain degree, but then also being a very, very controversial character.
Thank you very much. Right, that's EKEMA Patrick for you, and definitely we're going to be discussing more now. Let's look at his political life, because that is what really defined him. EKEMA Patrick actually began his political activities in a very, very quiet way. Not until the head of state came to Boya, after he addressed and said Boya is grown enough to become a city council and all of that, we suddenly began seeing him to be a political strongman, and he rose above even those he had called godfathers and tried to instill his personality and ensure that his vision and ideologies reigns in Boya. Now, let's look at his political vision in the municipality from when he took over as mayor right up till 2018, 2019. Should we, in your own opinion, how did you see him manipulate? I don't want to say step into tools, but manipulate his political activities, be it with his godfathers, be it with his adversaries, and all the like. How would you qualify his political activity?
Yannick, you know, in the political circle, from the observer of a journalist that I mean, you grew from the ranks. You grew from within the party setting. I mean, Patrick, from the best of my literature, I mean, was a bona fide member of the CBDM party.
Absolutely.
And he grew up from there, from his little cell to subsection to section, and then, I mean, to where he found himself. And in that process, he was living with people. I mean, like I said, this is a young boy that was picked out from, I mean, the background by Professor Limungadolotu, given an opportunity to work in the University of Boya. He took the opportunity to build his own capacity, go to school, I mean, do the O level, do the A level, do the masters, then grow in his profession. And in the process, he had his, maybe I want to say his first political godfather should be somebody like, I mean, today's Senator Charles Belamuki. I mean, we said, the young boys of Boya, come and join me. Let's build the political history of Boya. Let's get it going from where, I mean, the Endelis, the other people were left in the city of Boya. And then from there, you're going from the party ranks, you know, getting into the assistant secretary of the faculty section out here, like you said, working hand in glove with, I mean, the venerated Professor Victor Julius Ngo, who were all staunch members of the CBDM party. I mean, I had the opportunity to cover their meetings, even in the heart of darkness that they were holding their meetings. I mean, darkness not from the negative perspective, it's because after all their chores of the day, after all the activities of the day, they had to find time in a quiet atmosphere to hold their meetings, strategize, you know, to see how they move forward. I mean, you remember in the 90s, in the early 2000s, the political hotbed in Boya was booming. The CPDM party is trying to find its feet. The Social Democratic Front Party, they are also coming in. The UNDP, I mean, the party of Professor George, I mean, Domkima Nyamdi, they were all coming into Boya. So you needed these young people to be vibrant, to come to the fore, go into the neighborhoods, go into the quarters to look for those members of the party who raise them up.
Right.
And Patrick rose from there right up to the rank of winning the position of the deputy mayor. Not only, I mean, the deputy mayor, second deputy, I mean, first deputy mayor, which was already an inkling of shooting into the limelight. And when the opportunity came, you know, like in any political, sometimes you get a little excited, things got into your head. Within the management of the council at the time, it had these glitches. with his mayor, Mayor Charles Belabuke at the time, and with the powers vested on his as mayor, he suspended him as in his function as first deputy mayor. But that did not take away the power of the party, because you got into the council thanks to your party.
Absolutely.
So, though his functions were suspended as every different suspended as mayor, the seal, the power given to you by the party and the state as first deputy mayor was not taken. And when then Mayor Charles Belabuke moved up into the Senate, it was just natural. If you read the text of the CPDM party, it's clear. When the mayor is not there, the first deputy immediately gets into the position of the mayor. And that's how it came. Now in the position of the mayor, I mean, you know, a mayor is a very influential position everywhere in the world. Of Cameroon with the CPDM party at the time when you double as the president of the section, and then you now have the power of the mayor, man, you can crush anybody on your way.
Absolutely.
So it gave a lot of powers to Patrick. It gave a lot of opportunities to Patrick, because the section president, you discuss directly with the members of the political bureau of the party. The people who call the shots within the party ranks, they get to you. It's something that the power now starts trickling down to the subsection, to the cells, and then to the other wings, the youth wing, the women's wing, and that kind of stuff. So it gave Patrick a lot of political power, a lot of administrative power. Any minister coming to town, you have to be the mayor of Buea. Buea is not any kind of town. I mean, this is capital, like historical history. I mean, German Cameroon, West Cameroon, and then today the Republic of Cameroon. So Buea, the mayor of Buea has a say on the well-being of the Republic of Cameroon. So, and then with the coming of the difficulties that we had, started some 2016, Patrick, it was in his hands, you know, and he had to battle with his life, everything. And then with the coming of the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Cameroon, where it was announced that the president of the Republic is going to come, who doesn't want to shake hands with the president of the Republic? I mean, I wish Yanni, you were in the position of and that same position. Because having a tete-a-tete with the president of the Republic at the Prime Minister's Lodge, I mean, you are the one giving details of the well-being of the city of Buea, and to an extent, service done in general in collaboration with the governor. I mean, you have the ear of the president of the Republic. It's not given to everybody. So that also brought him some people who were not very comfortable with that. They thought that he's giving him a lot of ego, he's giving a lot of political networking. I mean, having a chat with the president means that you suddenly have the telephone number of the president has a telephone number. So he can call you at any time for development. And you know, networking within the circles of the presidency of the Republic, within the secretariat, within the civil cabinet, gives you a lot of opportunities. And so those things also brought banana peelings on the way of Patrick. And the Patrick that we knew, I mean, will stand up to it till the last minute. So he made use of his political opportunities and power, you know. But, like Father said, I would continue to give him thumbs up, because Patrick did everything for us to have goodies in the city of Buea. The roads that we enjoy today, as a politician, he put his leg on the ground. So the contractors were not ready to stand up to the challenge. But Patrick will come and say, if you don't do this road, you know, I spoke with the president. I spoke with the president the other day. So if you don't do this road, we're taking the contract away from you. So the good roads that we enjoy today in Buea, we give it to him. You know, some other things came. Some people tried to frustrate it, but I think largely there are things we enjoy today in Buea because Patrick put his leg on the ground for the city of Buea.
Right, of course. We would like to look at his achievement. You've talked about quite a lot. Now, let's look at, in terms of economy, you've tried to talk about the roots and all of that. Now, let's look at it economic perspective deeply. Between 2012 2019, was there so more to talk about in terms of economic development in the municipality of Buea?
I think that, Yannick, we have to first of all maybe look at the time. the time is very important here, and the context in which Patrick actually came, and then the challenges that were there.
Absolutely.
You know, he was actually at the heart of this crisis. When the crisis actually took off, it was him as the mayor, and the crisis started dying down when he also passed on. So this maybe might have put speed brakes on some of the major developmental projects that he wanted to carry. I just want to cue in from what Nana said, that they started throwing banana peelings at him maybe after his meeting with the President of the Republic. Well, he told me personally that when he met the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, the President asked the translator to leave. The President was to translate from English to French. The President asked him to leave. And he spoke with the head of state in English. He asked the translator to leave. He asked his bodyguard to leave. So there were two. And after that meeting, the things that the President told him, when he actually came out of that meeting, the elites wanted to know what he discussed with the President. But he told them that what he discussed with the President remains between him and the President. He did not disclose what he actually discussed with the President with any other person in the region. That's where problems started, because they don't know the content of the discussion he actually had with President Paul Biya, which I must boldly to say he did not share with me either. So that's where the peeling started falling. Now, talking about the developmental project that he carried, if you remember very well, Yannick, they were calling this part of Boya the EKEMA's Boya. I mean, if you take from class quarters coming up, they call it the EKEMA Boya, and that Molikoto was another Boya, especially at the heart of the crisis. Now, he did a lot for the city. You will bear with me that thanks to his strong conviction and willpower, we could buy bread at the heart of crisis in Boya. We could move to class quarters and take a bottle of beer in the heart of this crisis in Boya. We could actually stroll with taxis put on the road, at least for minimum service, at the time when everybody was locked up in the house. It's thanks to what EKEMA did. But away from that, I think he did a lot in the field of opening roads, like we've just mentioned. He started some market projects. There was a market that chose to be constructed around the Bojongo Court area that was actually hampered by the crisis. He did it out in the field of boreholes for Boya. But generally, I think that EKEMA's mandate could be seen as a mandate that fought for insecurity in a municipality, because that's where the real battle was. There could be no meaningful development at the time when there is chaos, when there are gunshots, when people could not be comfortable moving out. So I think that we cannot hold something strong on the ground that, okay, concretely this is what he did. But one thing he did that people may not be able to see, I think he empowered a lot of people in Boya, especially those who work at the council. He increased the council staff. He made a staff of, I think, about 40 to 45 persons, and he moved that staff to 380. Now, just take 45, he moved them to 380. He empowered everybody that was there. Salaries at the time were very regular, just like now. He came and stabilized a lot of those things. So I think generally that was what he actually did. And then on the other front too, I think that he made a lot of new friends, and then also let go of a lot of old friends. For example, he had some excellent relationship with authorities of this of the region, and even beyond. And that's why he could be able to take decision A to decision B. And he also worked hard to improve on the security of Boya. How did he do that? EKEMA Patrick actually was, you see him everywhere with his soldiers, with the military along with him. I think he supported the initiative that bring more military to secure Boya. At a time when many people were thinking that, some people were even calling that, okay, military should go back. That we should go for demilitarization. But EKEMA believed that the more we bring the military, the more the people were safe. And that theory was proven to be right. Because the more military we brought in, class quarters could open at the time when everywhere was locked. We could buy gas, we could buy bread, we could buy groundnut oil, we could still feed children. And above all, Yannick, schools were also at the center of this crisis. At the time when people thought that it was impossible for schools to go, EKEMA Patrick stood his grounds and said schools must go on to the municipality. He said we can do everything, but we cannot stop education. And that's what even brought him a lot of conflict with some church leaders. And of course,
some church leaders?
Yes, and of course, there were court cases as well. He said we cannot pay fees and children don't go to school. So all of this actually brought up the fight that EKEMA Patrick put on. And I think that we can say it with no reservation that his courage, the courage that EKEMA Patrick had, and the power that he wielded at the time, and his strong convictions that Cameroon is one, and Boya is part of Cameroon, and that we must defend this position, I think is what gave so many citizens of this town courage. And we can see the results today. Everybody is running from where there is war. Boya has become that El Dorado where everybody lives. Everybody that has challenges, we have Boya now very, very full. Roads are small. Houses have become expensive because it created that atmosphere that no matter where you're running from, Boya could welcome you. And I want to share something with our listeners today. Some people may think that the mayor was tribalistic. Some people may think so. But I want to tell you that Mayor EKEMA Patrick, some of his closest collaborators, were not just Bakwarians. They were people from across Cameroon. But where he was ruthless was when he realized that you're trying to go maybe out of the line or you're not towing the line. He was totally against that. I can tell you that some of his close collaborators were not Bakwarians. He recruited in the council. If you get to Boya Council today, you find Bakwarians. You find people who are not Bakwarians. You find people who are not even from the region. They all work in this council thanks to EKEMA Patrick. What he had that was unique was his conviction. If he says we're standing here, we stand there. If you're out of the line, you're out of the line. I think that's why some people see him as a very controversial character. Some people believe that because of this very hard stance that was going on. And beside that, Yannick, at a time when there is crisis, you need a following. And at times, you can use every means you can. The more people you get on your side, the better. So there was really nothing wrong at that point in time to put in place the strategies which he actually put in place to make sure that Boya actually achieved the peace that we are all enjoying today. So I think...
So you credit him for the peace we're enjoying today?
I think that we have not two people to credit. We have to credit him for the peace we enjoy today in Boya and for the hospitality that we enjoy today in Boya.
Right.
Because if we had a leader at that time that was not as strong and powerful and determined like him, I think that we could see Boya going to pieces, because you only know strong leaders when you face the kind of crisis that he was facing. At the time when, I want to say, most people didn't believe that things could tend to be where we are today. But he saw it, and he stood for it, and he fought for it. And today we're seeing the fruits. So I think he came and fought for peace in the city. And that's why in the entire Cameroon, English-speaking Cameroon, there are two places I call for peace. You have Boya and you have Tico. Tico maybe because of the geographical location of Tico. But Boya, I think that is because there was a strong political will to say no to this. We are not here. We will not belong here. This is where we are. And I think that he picked up that victory.
Right. That's interesting. So, Father, how would you, how would you summarize his achievements in your own?
Well, we know, speaking of the life of EKEMA, we can have a plethora of things to speak about, and move into one and two, knowing how versatile and how controversial, as I earlier said, his person was. But then I come back to the point of his economic achievements. To a certain degree, we can have economic factors which propel an achievement of a regime, be it directly or indirectly. I begin with the indirect factors, the propelling of EKEMA's economic regime and its tenure. You know, during EKEMA's tenure, we had the African Nations Cup, Female African Nations Cup, which is an indirect factor which propelled the economic growth of EKEMA's regime. We give him the credit. It is part of providence that it was during EKEMA's tenure that we had that. Now, what did that bring into
2016?
Yes, what did 2016 time? What did that bring into the economy of Boya? Now, we had infrastructural developments, which came in with the person of EKEMA.
We had a lot of destructive reconstruction.
It wasn't destructive reconstruction.
That was the first time Boya Denison saw him as some dictator.
Now let's go back.
He destroyed,
what happens,
especially in Boya town.
Yes, we can say a destructive reconstruction. But look at in Yaoundé, Chimievuna. His name resounds when you get the person of Chimi. You know, c'est la destruction. But it's destruction which comes with development to a certain degree. And we go to it cosmologically. In the fair of cosmology, for something to be constructed, there must be a certain destruction. For a construction to take place, or for growth to take place, for example, we get to the normal seed germination. The seed must die for the plant to grow.
And new buildings, new concrete buildings have cropped up.
Very good structures are coming up in Boya. Look for
permanent structures.
Now, I repeat the fact that I grew up in Moliko as a seminarian for becoming a priest, so I can speak with some certain hand as a child of Moliko. You see the Jeromba Street area, where we have St. Clair now, and those other shops which were standing there. Now, the beautiful structures which came up, first, some which were destroyed paid penalties. Some could have their way out through one way or the other, but then, with the certain dialogue which took place, even if the dialogue was slow, some of those areas had to build very, very good infrastructures. Look from Malingo right up to Bunduma. All the structures, even up to now, which I see coming up. But most of us could start seeing those beautiful structures during the tenure of EKEMA because of the destruction which took place on those carabots which were there, those wooden houses. Now we have that. The influx of non-indigens into Boya, EKEMA secured to a certain degree. Not to a certain degree, I know that we may disagree on this, but to a certain degree, they were sure of some security.
Right.
And that left, you go into the site where we have Bulu, for example, Bulu area, we go to the areas where the market is now Butifa. We see a lot of cash crops which were grown there by non-indigens. And they were sure of their security. Hadn't been they were unsure of their security, they wouldn't have been here. And those areas are now lucrative areas for the growing of tomatoes, which is a high cash crop in those areas which are produced by non-indigens.
Right.
So the regime of the tenure of EKEMA saw those non-indigens secure to a certain degree. I give him that degree of security. You see the expansion of it. You go to the present Mayor Street.
Right.
The present Mayor Street where he lives. You see the amount of shops which are there now, the number of shops which are there, which came in just immediately that road was created. We could argue that the roads were there or were in the plan of the structure, the municipal structure, prior to his coming. But then, he still has the credit that during his tenure, those roads were constructed.
Right.
And as those roads were constructed, you see the amount of shops and the economic growth which took place. You see finance turning among ourselves.
Among the municipality.
You now see the aspect that people no longer go to Douala to get good tables, good chairs, or good things which they can afford in Boya, at least with 1,000 francs, which can be a little more expensive than dollar, just for 1,000 francs. So you see that economic reality which he was able to bring out. You see, go back again to class quarters. Class quarters was on 24/7, and you see on 24/7 now because of some of those achievements. Yes, we are not saying that we are against or we are not sympathizing with some aspects which came up during the crisis, some aspects which need to be checked on, some of the excesses of our brothers and ourselves too. But then we still have a right to education, a right to food and shelter, and a right to economic growth, which I think Patrick Esunge during his tenure, we see held. I don't want to get again into the area of Dongo, the Dongo area now, where you see a lot of economic activity taking place, which we can see it's given to his person. I would like to end at the level of economics, since it's the first aspect. When we come to the others, I shall give a fair contribution to it.
Right.
Not really, we cannot say judgment, since he has the right to his good name and post-mortem.
Right. Thank you very much.
Just a quick one. I need to still talk about the economic development under the tenure of Mayor. Okay. Like Father said, we talk about the bill, operate and transfer system. I mean, it was a massive economic venture that has brought a lot of goodness to people. I mean, people have yes in this city because of that. I mean, bill, operate and transfer system, whereby lands that belong to the council were leased out to these people to carry on the economic venture.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, at their pace, at their time, and paying that money into, the coffers of the council. I'm sure maybe you will come into about the Boya Central Market issue.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a massive idea. I remember as a journalist, I covered that ceremony with the businessman from Nigeria. It was clear. It was a diplomatic arrangement that the businessman came and said, okay, I have my money. I want land from Boya. Give me land, I'll build a market, make my money after some time, and then give back
to the municipality.
But the businessman came, he did not have money. And then he wanted to use an underground, under the table system by twisting the population of Boya to get money from them. And that's why the mayor got angry and had the guy locked up. Because that was not in the diplomatic agreement that was signed at the chamber of the Boya Council, in the presence of the diplomatic mission of Nigeria in Boya. There, it was a fantastic idea, but the businessman did not have the necessary wherewithal to carry on with that project. And when the mayor said that he was going to twist the population to be taking money from them in the background, he was not comfortable about it because it was the name of the council that was at the fore. And so, rather than soiling the name of the council, and he realized that from his financial statements and dealings and findings, the guy did not have the ready cash to carry on with the project. That's why the mayor had to put it on a hold.
Yes, let me just add that the BOT bill operate and transfer was first introduced in Boya by Mbela Mokicha.
Absolutely.
It was actually Mbela Moko who actually brought up this idea of BOT first for the municipality of Boya.
It took votes during
EKEMA. And Mbela started it, but
especially in my 17.
Yes, and came on.
And of course, like we said earlier, I mean, Mr. Patrick Kemesume was the first deputy mayor, so
at the time
he wouldn't go away from
all of them definitely work together to put the idea together. Now let's welcome Mr. Sama Abamugwa, who definitely he's present here to discuss.
Which may not be popular, but that is his conviction. I named two Amber advocates, whom I've also seen as people who believe in their conviction, no matter how wrong or how unpatriotic it may be. The Amber general who was killed, I think, Ivo and Ayabacho, and the last was late Mayor EKEMA, who had a conviction and he stood for it right to his death. Politically, he might have been wrong on the basis of who is the judge and who is his advocate. But I think he had his position which he did not budge from, and he stood his ground in spite of the critiques and the insults and attacks against his person. It is better to live and die for what you believe in than to die for nothing. So he lived and died for what he believed in. And so it's on that basis that I judge him positively. Unfortunately, he reigned at a very difficult moment. And we can't also separate the person of Mayor EKEMA from some of the manifest illegalities that took place in town. I remember I was sharing the same TV platform somewhere with the venerated barrister Itabison, and I said, in times of crisis, human rights occupies the backseat. In times of threat to territorial integrity and the general good, human rights takes a backseat, and that is why there were things which he did which were legally wrong, but which were politically and administratively correct. The breaking of shops, the stealing of private businesses, the bursting of car tires for those who were deemed to be respecting ghost towns. Legally and human rights wise was wrong, but politically, still a political man, correct. So, and at the end of the day, you also look at what was he out to achieve. So you judge him on the basis of what he was out to achieve and whether he eventually achieved it. And I think he was out to maintain and install peace, stability, and order in his municipality where he was the first plan. And again, as I said, to a very large extent, he achieved that. Unfortunately, he died at a time when the vision he had, many people didn't see and didn't share. But I think that now a good number of people seem to be giving credit to him, even in the privacy of their bedrooms, judging from what Boya is compared to other areas. But overall, he was an enigma. He was a very enigmatic character, a person of very difficult personality to interpret and to understand, especially given the fact that for those who knew him at close range, saw a very divisive personality. I think who at the end of his life had fallen out of favor with his immediate political family, and I'm sure he knew what he was up to, and I'm sure that's why he too had took some of the very difficult decisions that he took. His life and his death were an entire story on their own, and I think maybe by the time we come back to the second segment, I'll be able to point out the lessons I learned from him as a person and from his choice of life.
Right. Of course, if you're just joining, this is Mountain Echoes. About Patrick as mayor and as an indigenous of Oya 3 years after he passed on into glory. That was on the 27th of October 2019. We are 3 years gone down the lane. Are there some lessons we can learn from EKEMA Patrick? That's what we're trying to size up in the program tonight. Well, we shall take a very short break. We will be back to continue with the program.
Apostolate in the Diocese of Boyer today celebrate their 60th anniversary in the context of the feast of St. Simon and Jude with the various branches from all over the diocese. Specialists from the Shishon Hospital carry out a two-day screening process on heart-related issues at the Mount Mary Hospital. Human rights defenders in the South training session being equipped with physical and digital tools to enhance democracy in Africa. Good evening and thanks for joining us on for presentation. Those were our top stories. Stay tuned for the news in full. Members of the St. Jude Apostolate celebrate their 60th anniversary in the Diocese of Boyer, reflecting on the virtues of their patron who intercedes on the helpless and hopeless cases. This was during a Holy Mass presided at by the Bishop of the Diocese of Boyer, His Lordship Michael Bibi, this day, October 28th, at St. Charles Luanga Parish, Moliko. Details in the following report.
The world takes a pause this Friday, October 28th, to reflect on the lifestyle of St. Jude Thaddeus, an apostle who dedicated his life for the hopeless and suffering cases.
I decided to study group, and I wanted in a stronger apostle to pray.
In the Diocese of Boya, hundreds converged on the St. Charles Luanga Parish, Moliko, to pray and seek for the intercession of St. Jude Thaddeus, whose lifestyle many are striving to emulate.
I've been in St. Jude for 30 years, and as a Jude, I have taught so many persons know how to worship God. Many of our Catholic Christians, they move from church to church because they don't know.
In this Eucharistic celebration, the chief shepherd of the diocese, Lordship Michael Bibi, encouraged the Christians to be active and committed members in the house of God so others could emulate their footsteps. Meanwhile, some 38 members of the St. Jude Thaddeus opportunity to celebrate their 60th diamond anniversary, praying earnestly for God to continue giving them the strength to serve Him.
We promote the St. Jude, we perform the miracles that we know. We know that St. Jude is the same of
Prayers and devotion characterized the day, while young Christians were encouraged to engage in spiritual journey to make heaven.
I joined this group since from the very first day that my mother told me I should join her in the novena to St. Jude. So I gave a testimony. St. Jude Thaddeus interceded for me by helping me pass my exam. So she me to help to try to.
In this celebration, the Christians have been involved in prayers, pilgrimage, and burnt petitions to their patron saint.
Our reporter Gillian Tata Yenda. A two-day process on cardiovascular screening and education on heart-related issues began this day, October, until tomorrow, Saturday, October 29th, at the Mount Mary Health Center by skilled experts from the Cardiac Center of Shishong. Sharon Tita with the details.
Problems, if not handled early enough, become the cause cause of major health concerns in the lives of many. Thus, a team of medical practitioners from the cardiac center at Mount Mary Hospital in Boyer, a 2-day outreach consultation.
The reason we started outreach consultation in Boyer, the first reason is because many patients with cardiovascular diseases, the distance to far. Most of them, some of them used to die on the way. Some come and reach right at the reception of the cardiac center and they die there. Some die at the steps because of the distance and with their poor health condition.
I've been here since this morning to check patients in our 3-monthly mission care of cardiovascular diseases and prescribing medication and re-evaluating patients. And since this morning, we have been seeing quite a bunch of them. The majority is better.
Cardiovascular diseases caused by hosts of factors which range from what we take in to what we fail to do.
Causes is like lifestyle changes, obesity. If you are obese, you can really have cardiovascular disease. If you are smoking, it's a predisposing factor. Drinking, sedentarity, if you are not doing exercise. These are things that really can link or later on you can develop cardiovascular disease. But things that you cannot avoid, like men at 45 years old, women at 55, these are things that you cannot avoid. The sex, more men than women. Sometimes there's some genetical factor, like if your parents were having hypertension, you can have hypertension because of the genes. Yes, these are things that you cannot really avoid. These are the main. Also, something that you can avoid too, eating much salt.
Notwithstanding, regulatory measures can be prevent heart issues and improve health.
The amount of salt that you are putting, you should eat less salt, less oil. People that used to put much, they can develop cardiovascular diseases. Exercise. If you are really sitting all the time, you can develop cardiovascular disease.
Some people who have undergone a heart surgery were also present at the screen for check-ups.
January early this year, I was operated upon by the cardiac team. So I'm very, very fine. I'm okay. So this time around, I came for check. Very good. They were very, very good. And now I'm fine. I'm okay. I've gone back to my normal activities. At first, I could not sleep. I could not stand. I could not. And now I can do everything.
Medications regularly, follow the doctor's prescription, and notify in case of any irregularities or abnormalities in their health.
Staff delegates of schools in the Diocese of Boyer have taken the commitment to remain faithful in executing their respective duties so as to yield better fruits at the end of this academic year. They made the commitment this Friday, October 28, while holding a pioneer meeting with the Education Secretary of the Diocese of Boyer. Nadesh May attended the meeting and now tells us more.
Following the November 2nd, 2022 for staff delegates to meet with the Catholic Education Secretary 3 times. Various Catholic schools are here to discuss on their
struggling to improve. So we open that platform for them to be able to talk, honest talk, so that in that way we'll really know what is at stake in our respective schools and we'll see how we can improve. Because it was all about trying to see what level of improvement we need. And these are the people who are working in schools, and these are the people who can give us a true picture of the reality in schools.
The experience of these staff delegates being without challenges in various spheres.
Challenge itself is not that it's a challenge, it's that we are unable to come to an agreement. But since we're able to come, discuss time, we have a good boss who has listened to our plea and we have taken recommendations and time limits have been given. There are some things that will be done immediately, the others will be done as time progresses. So to me, it's a great success, massive one.
The late coming of textbooks, which are not there, that cause parents to go and buy textbook elsewhere, and when the books come, we are unable to buy. And also, we have the problem of the salaries. They have not been binary increment for a long period of time. So that's another worry. They had another worry. The teachers who have been transferred to distant places, they were not given transport requisition. And with that, the teacher is unable to go to that area, which is not good.
Certain recommendations have been of making the situation in Catholic schools better. From the deliberations so far, many are living with a renewed perspective on how to better function.
Sometimes when we talk about salary, they talk about enrollment program for how to improve on the enrollment.
At the end of the meeting, the staff delegates to move forward in working tirelessly for a better Catholic education sector.
Construction works are currently ongoing at the Small Supper Cathedral Cemetery to create a conducive atmosphere for Christians to pray for the souls of those laid there for rest, as November, the month of the dead, unfolds. More of the story with Joyce Mbong.
This is the Regina Pacis Cathedral Cemetery, where the mortal remains of some deceased priests, religious men and women of the Diocese of Boya had been laid to rest. Exposed to the scorching sun and heavy downpour, the cemetery has deteriorated, making it look abandoned, as if to say the dead had been buried and forgotten. Worried about the current state of the cemetery, and in order to give honor to the dead, the Bishop of the Diocese of Boya, His Lordship Bishop Michael Bibi, has decided to give a facelift to the cemetery. In this light, construction activities are currently going on at the Regina Pacis Cathedral Cemetery.
This is the cemetery for the priests and the religious of the diocese. Before we have this grave, they were constructed, but then they were not aligned. So what we are doing presently on the grave, we are struggling just to align the grave.
This project targets a bigger picture where Christians of the Diocese of Boya will have a conducive place to remember the dead in their prayers.
We want to upgrade it to align so that if you are looking at it, you can actually see the grave, the straight line. So we'll have a walking path in between each grave, so that on the day of 1st November of All Souls, we will have to come in here to say a mass. On that day, Christians will be able to move in on those lines freely, right up to where there will be an altar. For this work to be completed, we have to engrave the names and the year of the different priests.
For the realization of this plan, a lot of resources are still needed. According to some, giving a facelift to this cemetery of the diocese to have an enabling place to pray for the dead, but would also intensify the frequency at which these prayers are done for the dead.
Some human rights defenders in the Southwest region have been equipped with physical and digital tools to enable them record and report human rights abuses with ease. This 3-day training led by the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa held in Boya and ended today, Friday, October 28. Jude Mbaku attended and now tells us more.
This 3-day capacity building workshop on digital rights and security for human rights defenders in the Southwest region is holding on protection in conflict-affected regions of Cameroon, the Northwest, Southwest and Far North regions of the country are the targeted areas. The participants here are from different non-governmental organizations in the Southwest region. They are being schooled on different models to record and report human rights offenses. One of the thematic areas touched here is physical and digital security.
Sufficiency myriad of issues taking place in the country. So, yes, the voices are being heard, but we can be louder. It was important that whilst they are protecting others, while they are promoting and protecting human rights, they should be. That is to understand physical and digital security.
This participant is from the crisis hit Nguti of the Kupe Manunguba division. Being here for these days, that over his training, going back to his locality, he is sure that his impact will
The accord between the armed groups, each of them, when they come to the local community, there is no peace. There have been places people are killed, and you name the rest, displacement of persons. Of these things we also learn from local population, also help to instigate some of these activities. They use the crisis to settle scores.
Since the start of the crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions in 2016, human rights defenders alert, trying to exploit new avenues to help the endangered population of the northwest and southwest regions from belligerents of the crisis. This is because the human rights situation in these regions is worrisome. This workshop is in its second phase and will run to 2024. It is led by the Boya-based Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, CHADA, with the European Union and REDAC as partners.
The inadequacy of counseling services in most schools in the country has negatively influenced the behavior of students. This is a substance of a research piece carried out by Moki Harriet, a master's candidate in the University of Boyer. Sharon Tita attended, and now with the details.
The influence of services on the cycles, adjustments of students, research piece chosen by in the University of Boyer.
This research topic because seeing what the students are going through, their misbehavior, and the fact that they drop out and in the neighborhood and even in school, they run away from classes, they appear during CE. Don't even come during CEs.
In the panel of jury chaired by Professor Patrick Shea, the defense counseling services can enforcement of students.
Of the students, they are them to really achieve what achieve, and if to in the area of achievement to achieve.
The research piece will benefit students in ways, including making them know the causes of their academic challenges and enabling them understand why they are behaving.
The finding of my research really asserted inadequacy of counseling services is one of the factors, because we cannot see that is the only factor, but it is one of the factors of the problems or the misbehavior of learners in the University of Boyer. So this is what my findings revealed.
The research disclosed that the inadequacy of counseling services are the factors which influence.
The work, it will help them to understand the causes of their problems and also how to adapt and adjust, because is enabling someone to make read problem, to minimize or to overcome.
Meanwhile, corrections will be captured in the final copy and submitted to the library for archiving.
If you're just tuning in, you are watching Divine Mercy Prime. On our spot page, the Bishop's Games for the Diocese of Boyer reaches the rounds of semi-finals and finals in some deaneries, as various parishes strive eagerly to secure a place for themselves at the December finals. John Philip Wanla now gives us the highlights.
Youth in the Diocese of Boyer converged at different stadia of their for either semi or quarter-final games of the Bishop's Cup. At the Muya Dinari, it was a toss of qualifications for the finals. For football, My 14 lost to Bamaka, 0 goals to 1, while Muya beat Ekona 1 goal to 0. While in the handball category for boys, My 14 played against Ekona, winning them 4 goals to 3. For the girls, Ekona thrashed My 16, 3 goals to 0. Bamaka girls lost to Muya girls 6 goals to 4. Teams that infringe the rules of the competition, like coming for games without a ball, be it for football or handball, coming late, fouls committed. Muya in total was fined 2,500 francs for fouls during the game and yellow cards. Bamaka fined 2,000 francs for lateness, while 4,500 francs for both lateness and fouls committed during games. Bota Dinari recently started a competition at their own level, registering the following scores. For handball boys, it now beat Bota 5 goals to 4, while Geme beat Batoke 4 goals to 3. Geme lost to Batoke for feature due to their absence. For the football boys category, it now walloped Bota 2 goals to 0, while Geme lost to Batoke 1 goal to 0. At the Boyardinari, Great Support lost to Mekongi 3 goals to 5 for the football boys, while the handball girls, Mekongi lost to Great Support 0 goal to 2. For handball boys, Bukwango won against Boyatown by a for-future win. Kongi lost to Great Support 1 goal to 3. So far, Boyardinari is set for the semi-finals this Sunday, where for the football category, Bukwango plays against Mekongi and later Support plays against Boyatown. For handball boys category, Boyatown plays against Small Support, while Bukwango plays against Great Support. For the handball girls category, Bukwango versus Small Support and Great Support versus Mekongi, while Muya prepares for its finals. At the Moli, which St. Charles played against St. Michael 2 goals to 0 in favor of St. Charles, while Cornelius meets with the Co-Cathedral tomorrow, Saturday, 28th of October, in preparation for their final games scheduled for Sunday, 30th of October, 2020.
With that report, we come to the end of this week's edition of Divine Mercy Prime. Before we let you go, a recap of our top stories. Members of St. Jude Apostolate in the Diocese of Boyer today celebrate their 60th anniversary in the context of the Feast of St. Simon and Jude with the various branches from all over the diocese. Cardiac specialists from Shishong Hospital carry out a 2-day screening process on heart-related issues at Mount Mary Hospital. Human rights defenders in the Southwest region undergo a 3-day training session, being equipped with physical and digital tools to enhance democracy in Africa. I have been Marion Ngenyi. Hopefully, we see you next week same time with more important stories.
Welcome back, dear viewers. After the break, we're still on Mountain Echoes, and we are revisiting the life of EKEMA Patrick Esunge 3 years after he passed on. Of course, we are looking at the life lessons learned from the political, social, economic, and security lifestyle EKEMA Patrick lived, and we're trying to find out if we can pick up one or two things from there. And we already we've been discussing quite a lot about the man EKEMA Patrick, and it is just fair that we continue our discussions in that light. And with that, I want to come to you, Mr. Jack. EKEMA Patrick, like many have termed him, seems to be one man that attracted a lot of controversies around him. Overtly jettisoning his political godfathers, to reducing the man down the streets by squashing their goods and services and all of that, to taking men of God to court and all of that, putting all of that together. Should we say that he was one man army who so simply was a victim of circumstance with a number of adversaries he attracted on his way?
Yannick, I think that you put it very, very correct. I want to say that if you look at the controversy that surrounded the life of the mayor, EKEMA Patrick Esunge, you must look at the times and, of course, the opponents that he actually had in front of him. Now, politics may look peaceful, but it's not peaceful. And power is not given, it is taken. And I want to say that if you look around the world, most countries that are super developed today in the world, they were developed by dictators. Mm-hmm. We call them dictators because they were people who believe in their own conviction and push through that agenda. Mm-hmm. They were not developed by Democrats. Mm-hmm. One man, one vote, your opinion, my opinion, no. So there come a point in a man's life that you have to be bold and focused, and when you know what you want. I think that Mayor EKEMA had defined his goals and his objectives. And this is what I want for Boya. And anybody that was not aligning with him was seen by him as somebody who does not mean good for Boya, or somebody who does not want to stand on the positive line. And so that he had no other option, Yannick, but of course to face these people and push them away. Because if you take, for example, even though the fact that maybe he stopped by the market, maybe some of the tires for some cars were blown up, truck were actually respecting goes down. Though we can say it with concrete proof that he did that. But I think that we can say, point on his finger that, oh, we saw him punching cars on the streets of Boya. No. But I think that people believe, or some people think that maybe he did that. But that maybe some other person may still do it, and we attribute that to him. You know, we live in a society where people assume a lot and then act on it without doing proper finding and investigation. He was a wonderful person, loved by his people, goes to the market, eat his beignet by the roadside. The life is always live. In the market with women, buying, asking you how much do you sell a bunch of plantain, how much is per in this market. Yeah, and all of this, all of what he did, Yannick. And the security men around him were not forces of brutality, they were forces of peace. Okay. Yes, they were forces of peace, not for brutality. You could see even from the images that we're watching out there. So I think that EKEMA was not a one-man army. EKEMA was actually somebody who believed in the values and principles that he himself has defined, and that he thought was the right path to Boya at that particular point in time. Right. You know, Yannick, they say opposition may come from all directions, but what's important for you is not your own direction. You're talking about a man who actually at the time had enemies within his political parties, would not share his views. Some who actually thought that, well, but where is he from? Who is he? Who was his father? Who was his mother? How did he rise to where he is? Those were there. You have those who also believe that, no, maybe he was too harsh in the method in which he was treating those who had just one mission, to destabilize, burn down Boya, and stop you and I from living a normal day-to-day life. You have those who also sympathize, you know, with the cause of those who are coming with these other ideologies. You are the landlord, you are the commander-in-chief of the city, and you have the power to get Boya to where Boya should be. I think that it is just but normal that things like that were done at that time to be able to maintain the peace and tranquility that we enjoy today. There is a popular saying that is used even in the Holy Book says it, that don't spare the rod and spoil the child. There is nothing wrong to set some concrete examples for others to follow. And I think that what he did at the time was right. Like Sama said, it was politically right. And of course, I think that if a situation like that should occur again, people will act even different. And that's where you want to understand that the Mayor EKEMA Patrick was not a brutal person, but of course a saint, because of the way people handle different situations. I give you some situation around the world. We've seen what happened in Chad recently, where people take to the streets to protest democracy in Chad, and the young military junta in Chad ordered for open fire and shoot. 50 were killed. The whole world watched that happen. We've seen that Saddam Hussein, who used chemical weapons against his own people. The whole world watched that happen. We've seen leaders who have turned their face. We've seen what Vladimir Putin is doing in Ukraine. The whole world is watching. So they say desperate, when you're in desperate moments, you take desperate measures. So at that point where we were, Yannick, what EKEMA did was to help Boya understand that this is the path to follow, and my people, let's follow it. And I think that that's why, even today, 3 years after his death, many Cameroonians, not just people of Boya, sit and say he was a great man because he defended his wing and make sure that they didn't score through his wing.
Right. Thank you. Further, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much. To continue the same line with J.T. Venus and my brother who said, some things you were done which were not humanly correct or legally correct, but politically, legally wrong, humanly wrong in aspects of human rights, but politically correct. I buy with that. But then, also borrowing from my professor in the major seminary for the Hebeni, but I always had this statement, there is no fair appraisal without criticism. That is, there's no fair appraisal without criticism. Appraisal does not just end with praise. The word appraisal is a double-edged word which we use. Coming back to the aspect which I reiterated here about the construction of buildings with regards to its economic aspect, I think we have to look at some demerits of that act. The Bishop of the Diocese of Boya, then Emmanuel Bushu, wrote a pastoral letter in 2016 after the destruction of those houses, which were done during the African Nations Cup. And 3 points were highlighted.
In prelude to the African Nations Cup.
Prelude to the African Nations Cup. 3 points were highlighted. First of all, to be honest with you, Mr. Jake Sivanus on the plateau, the destruction of those houses were done without compensation.
Okay.
First, there was no compensation in the letter which the Bishop wrote. Secondly, it was biased because some houses were skipped. I mean, we go by memory lane, some had to pay for the houses not to be destroyed, and some money was given to the council at that time. Favoritism, corruption. That was one aspect which we also point out that which was a demerit to that regime in that stead. Then we also have the fact that some hold the argument that houses are built in Boya the way they are, that is with the Kara boats or in wood, because of the volcanic nature of Boya. And seeing the eruption which took place around the 1999s and 1999s to be precise, where houses were a bit broken and people died during the mountain eruptions, they saw it that to maintain such structures with wooden architecture will go a long way to preserve life. So destroying those to them did not sound pleasing. And again, it comes back to this aspect which we see in Cameroon politics and in the way we govern ourselves, where when strangers are coming to the airport, we decorate the airport with some amount of money, and a very huge budget is drawn for the decoration of areas. So we ask ourselves, are those things decorated for the strangers to see that we live in peace and are enjoying some relative measure of cleanliness and decency? And when the stranger goes, what becomes of those structures? So to those of us who work at the councils and those of us who can advise those of us, the mayors and all that, looking at what EKEMA did in that state, it's preferable for us to build and to construct and to decorate the areas and make them beautiful, not only for strangers and outsiders, which will cause havoc to others, but then to put it into a municipal plan that we need to beautify structures. We see this structure being put up here around the market, around the way to the hospital, around this roundabout here, the way to the hospital, beautiful structure which is also there to beautify the area. But if it is done,
the ornamental structure that is
the ornamental the ornamental structure which is being which is placed there, and we who look at it as a demerit to EKEMA's regime say that if these structures which are being done now could be done at that time without hurting anyone, without destruction, and with compensation, because as I earlier said, there was no compensation done, there was destruction made. There was no prior notice. Again, the bishop notified in his letter. There was no prior notice given. And that was true because we just got up one day, we saw robots, we called them robots, I don't know what we call them.
In the councils across Cameroon, I mean, the decision of the mayor is not taken by the mayor. It is a deliberation.
Yes.
Whereby the councillors sit down, because don't forget, Father, the councillors come from the neighborhoods.
Yes.
In the councils, Muliko, Boyatown, class quarters, the councillors come from there to represent the views from those people. Yes. And like the law governing council says that even when the councils are holding the deliberation, you and I as an everyday citizen in the city, we are expected to go there and listen to those deliberations and even make a contribution, because at the end of the day, from those councils, they are intended for the well-being of the population. Sometimes we may not have the literature, we may not have the information, but there is any decision that you see taken by the mayor, it is powered by a deliberation. It is that deliberation that gives the mayor the power to carry. In the case of the Women's AFCON 2016, I remember we covered a lot of those meetings. We carried a lot of those communiques. But Father, you know our society, you know our people. Some people will listen and they pretend that they have not listened. Some people did not even just follow it at all. And then when the council now, after radio announcements, TV announcements, inserts into newspapers, they start they start crying by the street side, looking for empathy. So
There were many strike actions during that period. The women of Bonaberi in Boya town almost stripped themselves naked in front of the Dio's office because of their housing.
But again, today, like we're saying, after that, the people have realized that the trends are changing. We need to go beyond the Carabao. Yes, we're living in a volcanic situation, but now the technology is saying that we need to get better roads. We need to dig deep to build those houses. I mean, further, if you go now around where we have one of these professional institutions somewhere there in my 17, if you see the quality of structures that are up there, you will not believe. Not everybody may have those huge resources, but even the small resources that you have, you can still do something changing. I mean, we're talking about just a few days there.
Yes.
I mean, did they even have of not more than 2 million people? Yes. I mean, America is sending them more police force, France is sending them more security agencies, Turkey is sending them more military to beef up the country, to beef up what the good ideas they have. So, like you said earlier, I mean, the open-mindedness, the open-handedness of Patrick EKEMA, that brought in people into the city of Boya. Father, you and I, we live in Cameroon. There are certain places in Cameroon that you cannot even buy land if you don't come from that area. But the mayor of Boya, with his magnanimity, with his open-mindedness, with the accommodating, and then putting the constitution of the republic into place, that so far as Cameroonian, you have a right to live everywhere in this country. But there are some places that people would try to brush with the back of the hand. But Patrick was entertaining, was more accommodating and that kind of stuff. So those difficulties will always be there. I'm very excited you talked about Chimi Efuna in Yaoundé. He said it very clear. J'ai marché avec mon secret. Si tu me tues, tu me mets dedans. Mais je vais changer Yaoundé. And he changed Yaoundé, I mean, to the best of his ability.
No, watching Yaoundé, I think that Yaoundé change in Yaoundé. You have a Yaoundé where you see have floods everywhere. It did not change much despite that slogan of the map.
Those things, those neighborhoods, you cannot just change them at a go.
No, but 10 years as government delegate, 15 years, and see have floods in the heart of the city. And you say you can't change them in 10 years. So what are you doing?
Let's talk about so somebody can also argue that EKEMA was not a goal that's painting it.
Of course. It's not like you and I know all the patterns he did for people not to build on waterways in Boya. People still build on waterways in Boya. So the human being is a very difficult being. We have to keep talking. We have to keep encouraging. We have to keep hitting hard. I mean, for these things to get better.
Okay. But sorry, because come and so to all these happenings, to whom do we impute those demerits of his regime? Not to the councillors, because as I earlier said, there are some things which he will take the credit for, even if he were not the person who actually made them happen. But now I'm saying he is the one who takes the shot for them. Because
I may just clarify something there further, just like what Nana is saying. The mayor is the Lord Mayor.
Okay.
He's called the Lord Mayor. That's why the mayor has total powers given to him by the law that talks about mayors in the country. Yes. That's why you have a mayor, you have his deputy mayors, but the mayor decides which deputy mayor to empower. Yes. So he's Lord because he has some of these key decisions to make. The councillors don't meet every day. They meet and lay their plan for the city. Some meet 3 times a year, some meet 4 times, some meet 2 times a year. And the mayor is charged to implement this decision. But there are measures that the mayor can also take without even consulting his councillors because of the emergence of the situation on the ground.
Yes.
Just like, if we get, for example, we got flood like last time in Boya town, that had to take even, I think somebody died in the course of that flood.
Yeah.
If the mayor should come there today and say somebody is died here because of flood, the people built on waterways, like Yanni said, the mayor will not wait for his councillors to vote that into law before it acts. The mayor will act because he's the mayor. So those decisions can be taken. But on the fact that the people have not been compensated, I think that there we can say, no, I think it is the council. Measures like that had to follow compensation. They had to also, people had to be informed, but they were well informed, like Nana said. And that's just the way. But the fact that they have not been compensated, that's why I say no. The council still have a right to compensate those individuals.
Right. Now let's look at the lessons we can learn from EKEMA Patrick. It's dead and gone, but it appears his ripples still reign across the Boya municipality. There's so much talk about him and all of that. Mr. Sama, adding to the many things you want to say, what are the lessons we can draw from EKEMA Patrick's life as a mayor?
Yannick, thank you for passing the microphone to me. Permit me I would like to smile at Nana, who the ideal, because he was like trying to paint the picture of the ideal or the expected situation, how municipal decisions ought to be taken.
Yes.
But that doesn't cancel the fact that we have situations where you have a tyrant who may not work by the rules and the laws. I'm sure if you were to talk with some of the councillors who worked under him, they might not tell you the same story, that all of the decisions that were executed, all of the actions that were executed were the result of the municipal deliberations. And I think if we are honest, we would admit the fact that he was a gentleman with a very strong temperament and a very imposing personality who could force his way irrespective of the existence of laws and injunctions. And we saw him do that repeatedly. So I'm not sure all his councillors and his deputies would have a very palatable story about his being law-abiding and text-abiding. I think, again, where I may have a worry with Silvanus too is where he wants to play the advocate of, not the devil though, but the advocate of, when we lived situations that were so glaringly clear, where he led his boys to burst tires of taxis and break down shops and seal some personally in his presence, and then you say it was mere hearsay, people may just have been speculating. I think you are not being fair to your own conscience, Again, and then, let me just say that at the end of the day, as I said earlier, I learned one thing from him, one lesson: be a man of conviction. In as much as we understand that it is only a fool who does not change positions, but again, be a man of your principles and be a man of conviction. What you stupidly believe, not what you hypocritically believe. And if you think that this is what I believe, this is my truth, this is the truth according to me, I live by it, I don't have a worry with that. But when it is hypocritical, because of maybe political gains, which are personal, that's where I may have a worry. But we can't late Patrick from Patrick the person and Patrick the politician. And again, too, that comes into play when you want to, what do you expect of a politician? What is your definition of a politician? And if you have that definition of who a politician is and what politics is, then you might now be more soft and subtle on his memory that he was doing all of the things that he did politically as a politician. That's why I said most of his actions, his executive, administrative actions were illegal. I mean, not a good number were illegal, were unlawful, were human rights unfriendly. But to support what Sivano said, those were the things he had to do politically at that particular point. Let me tell you that at the council under EKEMA stopped the circulation of motorbikes in this town. Like we were there in the other's sister media house at that time, and we actually debated on it extensively.
Yeah.
But I think
the 17th of August.
But I think that time proven that that was a very wise decision. Not only did it curb down the wave of kidnaps, which were facilitated and enhanced by the circulation of bikes, but it also helped to give some order back to the town that had become more of a dual ghetto with bike circulation on
the honking and
disorderly bike circulation. I think Boya people are better now without bikes than they were with the bikes. That's what I think. And I
also remove food from people's tables.
Yes.
And then cause people to become
no. Let me tell you. Excuse me, Nana. No matter what we do, somebody somewhere will feel the pinch.
Right.
But what we are looking at, Father, is let us go by the principle of higher good.
Yes.
What does it bring and to what number? Right. What is the general good? What is the general result? How positive? And so we, on the basis of the fact that some people were made jobless, yes, remove from teaching now the face-to-face classroom teaching now, say everything should be done. You will still remove food from some people's mouth. But again, what is the overall
greater good?
It makes teaching easy. It makes Cameroonians have gone jobless by the introduction of mobile money. Yes. Those who are working under Express Union and the other houses. But again, look at the electronic money transfer has brought to the society. It has made life more convenient, easier. But there are people who have lost their jobs. That is when things get that bad, people rediscover. You would accept with me that a good number of those who were bike riders and who believed that their salvation only depended on that have rediscovered. Let me tell you that because of this crisis, I have a good number of colleague teachers, especially those of the private and the conventional sectors, who have sworn to me that summer can never go back to classroom. But by the time schools were closed and they lost their jobs, they knew that they would die. Yes. So it has to do with what? Reinvent. So, but if we globally, by my appreciation, that particular action by the council under him helped to reinstate some security in Boya by taking away bikes, and it helped to make the town more orderly. If you know the harm that this bike causes to dual, and how several generations of administrators have struggled to stop or regulate without success, then to me, by my own appreciation, it was good. So if I were to now come up again, yes. Again, as I said, he was a man of several faces, and he was an enigma, and very difficult to understand, difficult to interpret. But one thing I learned: you don't, as a child, you don't disown your biological family, no matter how hostile it is. You don't disown your biological family, like he did. Either he had fallen out of favor with his political family, or he had disowned them. But he was a man whose personality was pushed a bit too far by my appreciation. But by the time he was the ordinary messenger and administrative assistant and then administrator at the university, he was an easygoing gentleman. But by the time so much power entered into his system, overwhelmed him, he became so powerful, maybe because it coincided with the wrong moment of the crisis.
Yes.
But he became some other person that those of us who knew him as that meek and feeble and easygoing, simple-minded university administrator saw a different person. Maybe, as they say, there is always that corrupting influence in power. Power has that intoxicating influence. But I think that the crisis that added to his personality and his own character helped to make him the enigma that I said he was. Let me differ with Njek. Again, maybe because of his political views, but he manifested some sentiments of xenophobia a good number of times when we heard him attack people, strangers who have come to destroy his town, and people from Graffiland. And I actually followed him at some journalists at some event at class quarters there and asked him, can you do that, I think, in Yabamenda? Go and do that, I think, in Yabamenda. Those were not things that we expected of a municipal administrator, as a politician, as a public figure. But I think, grosso modo, I forgive him for his weaknesses, and I think if he were to have a second chance, if reincarnation were real and he were to have a second chance, there are things that I know that he will still do and do more, but there are others that I think he would rethink and do them differently.
Right.
But I think at the end of my intervention, I pray he finds peace and solace.
Definitely. Now, Jack, what are the lessons we can pick up from EKEMA's life?
I think that I will pick up 3 lessons from the former mayor. But first, I just want to make one clarification, very brief though. Mr. Sama, let me share something with you that you can understand exactly what change the mayor EKEMA may be. Before 1982, when the head of state came into power, and then the coup d'etat of 1986 changed the head of state of Cameroon completely. Before 1982, when President Paul Biya was president, he used to ride his bicycle across Yaoundé. He'll go into even quartiers like Biamasi, sit with his people at the bar, share with them, talk with them. But the 1986 coup d'etat changed all of that right. 1984, sorry, coup d'etat changed that right. The president now believe that I can be killed, I can be attacked, I have enemies, I don't have friends. And at this point in time, for any leader that is sensitive, you change your modus operandi. You take concrete measures for your security. You start selecting your friends. You start knowing who you talk to, and you start being more focused on where you're going to. I think the situation at the time changed all of that with EKEMA Patrick Esoke. And that's why you realize that the EKEMA used to know in the university became a bit different from the EKEMA that was mayor because of all of these enemies and threat that actually centered around him. So please, if you look at it from that point of view. Now talking about what we think of what
so
I
using
President
Bobbia's lifestyle to be that's your measurement rod.
It's not
that's the best out of the worst situations.
Not just President Biya. You can use President Biya. There are many other leaders we can use who are in similar situations, Yannick.
All right.
You know, you and I, if somebody say I'm attempting on Jake's life, I don't go out the woody. You know, I stay in the house, especially if I don't know who is the enemy.
Right.
So he actually faced a lot of enemies because of his beliefs, because of who he was, and because of his stance that you and I know. It was normal that EKEMA had so many enemies. Now, what lessons do we learn from EKEMA? One, EKEMA taught us all in this ministry that believing in your conviction, your personal conviction, is what you should be. Some people see you live like a lion for a day and live like a coward or your sheep or your life. You must believe and you must know what you believe in and stand for, no matter how difficult it is. Secondly, EKEMA taught us that popular opinion is not always the best opinion. The fact that everybody is dancing to the left does not make left right. Or the fact that majority is dancing to the left does not make left right. That's why he could be cited among the few English-speaking Cameroonians, I repeat, few, who believe that this so-called project was a disaster for Cameroon. At a time when many were diving towards that direction, he stood against it. At one point, I want to believe that he was just alone, fighting something that people don't believe in it, because he understood that I have to stand for what is right. Even if every other person is saying that that's what's wrong. So it's understand that we must stand for what we think is right, no matter how many people are against us. And the third thing I think we can learn from EKEMA, Patrick, is that can destroy you, like power can kill you. That power, you need to understand how to manage power.
Absolutely.
Yes, because if you fail to understand how to manage power, power will destroy you, especially when given to you.
Power corrupts. Absolute power
Yes.
corrupts.
So
Absolutely.
I think that these are lessons we can learn. That's why his death is still a mystery. It's trial or controversy. Nobody can say what killed him. People can speculate in their quarters, in their little rooms, in their dark corners, but nobody can say this killed him. And the powers he had, Yannick, at one point, if we're very honest, he had to follow with so many people. I can do everything in this life, but I cannot follow the church leader.
That's all.
I can disrespect anybody, but I cannot disrespect fathers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So once you have power that you think that you can step even on people who are ordained before man and God as servants of God, it becomes a problem. You're not able to manage your power. No matter the amount of power the President of the Republic has, when he goes to church, when he goes for mass, you see President Paul Biya bowing before his Pope, before his bishop, taking his Holy Communion. So I think these are lessons that we can learn. And we must understand that power is good, but we must know how to manage it. I think these are the lessons that I'm taking down from the late Bayo
so simply
to say, may his soul continue to rest in peace.
So simply
I compare EKEMA to Kovali Kenya.
Right.
I write his name down just like that of Kovali Kenya.
Right.
Who was actually taken down by the Germans.
Wow, okay, thank you very much. Yes, Father.
Yes, I can turn Jack, my brother Jack here, as an encyclopedia of everything EKEMA because
since forget about what Jack
because but then I mean, notwithstanding, taking over from when Jake said that in every image, political image, in every image, every career, the face of God must be sought. I think our brother fell out in that aspect because his action on the 29th of July 2018 at the Bakweri Forum, where he outwardly backlashed at the PCC moderator, saying that he duped them, and regarding the synod clerk had to be from Northwest and the moderator Southwest, and vice versa. And EKEMA said he will openly not go to church again because of that aspect. And you seldomly saw that aspect of him. So my own point, the lesson which you can learn from that, at every moment, every aspect, it's always good to be alright with your leaders, your church leaders, and with God. That aspect, the other aspect of convictions, he comes in. EKEMA is a man of convictions. I think we can learn that from him. Even if he's convinced in error, we can learn that from him. And the aspect to hold on to the aspect of
hold on to your conviction.
Yes, to hold on to your convictions. Yes, it's preferable to have a man of conviction. That's why Christ himself says, "If you are for me, you are either for me or against me." Revelation 13 says, "If you sit on the wall, I'll split you out. You're either hot or you're cold. So you choose where you are. Your conviction. We work with you from that measure." Then one of the last things which I would like to say with that to EKEMA is his camaraderie. He was friendly somehow, though at a certain stage we could say
he was very friendly.
He was against. He was
extremely friendly. His friendship ends almost as it begins.
That's you could say that at some point in his life.
You concluded that.
Some could say that he said some xenophobic aspects. I would like to say the fact that he was against anything which is marked of division and fighting.
Correct.
Yes, because in my interlocution with some French-speaking Cameroonians, where I work in a French parish too, asking them before coming up for this, I said, "What's your impressions of EKEMA?" I said, "No." Then in French, "Father, without that man, most of us wouldn't have been here in Buea." Those are French speakers, Cameroonians. Without the influence and power of EKEMA, most of them wouldn't have been here. So that is open hands. You even see him receiving rewards and chieftaincies in the areas,
of course,
in the south.
he died with the name.
That one is another issue.
Yes, I'm just saying that, but he was someone open. I think I can learn conviction, never to leave God out of the picture, and to always have an open hand to others, despite his shortcomings. We say give him great credit.
Right. Thank you very much.
The boy that we enjoyed today, it's thanks to Patrick. I mean, today you have Cameroonians from all nooks and crannies coming to enjoy the haven of Buea. But that was a boy that supported that they could destroy. Patrick opened his chest and received all the bullets. I mean, everybody is coming to Bill in Boya. Now, Yannick, when you and I grew up in Boya here, you could hear a taxi driving from class quarters to my 17. You could hear the noise. But now, if you want to move for a business operation or an outing in Boya, you have to put at least 30 minutes ahead of time. Because traffic is tight. Because everybody is seeking solace in Boya. Everybody wants to come and stay in Boya. The taximen from Sabga, the taximen from Kumba, the taximen from Moyoka, everybody is in Boya. I mean, people leave Boya and work in Gola. So Patrick opened his chest for that, for the safety of Boya. So, I mean, while he's resting in peace, let's give that to him. Let's give him that thumbs up. That's the Boya that we're enjoying today. Is thanks to Patrick. He opened his chest and received all the bullets. Of course, like we said, the person who said one of the most exciting thing about Patrick is Dr. Nalova Leonga during his burial here. Patrick was such a massive figure, but that little political tact was not there to get the fight going. But the boy that we enjoyed today is thanks to him. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Patrick. Yes, is there someone?
I think we wish him well, and I think his death was a loss to his immediate family and his social groups. I think as to add to what Father said, in as much as we cannot make everybody our friend, we should endeavor not to make too many people our enemies, which was the error of the day. He was comfortable making many more enemies than friends. I was comfortable with a few friends that he had. I think it is not an obligation that everybody must be your friend. It's an obligation to minimize or to eliminate the possibility of you having enemies. I think again, exuberance, excess enthusiasm, especially in the management of public affairs, should be the watchword for every upcoming young politician. This system may not go down with you when it is your turn. They are good at vomiting you when they think that it is you and you. Fine. So I just think, and I want to think that for the good things that he did, the current municipal executive of the council should not depart from them simply because it is a change of chapter. They should look at the good things that he did and continue in his with the legacy. I think I should also commend you for thinking about him today. We would have been far different if none of the things he did, both the good, the bad. So I want to appreciate your house for choosing today to about him.
Right. Of course, and it would be on that note that we place a cap on today's edition of Mountain Echoes. We thank you all for being there, and to you, dear viewers, we want to thank you so much for watching. The man EKEMA Patrick will live in the minds of Boya denizens for quite a long time. His works, achievements, and challenges or shortcomings will still animate the city of Boya for a very long time. I am Yannick Fonkindale for presentation, together with Ngwan Kindness, JC Agum, Etienne Tazofa, and Emmanuel, I would say,